This is Brandie Wilkerson, and you're listening to Vibe 105.
Vibe Talks. Vibe Talks. More than just music.
Hey, everybody. This is Giancarlo Aulino reporting for Vibe 105 with a Sports VIBEtalks segment where I'm happy to be joined by my guest today. She represented Canada at the Olympics for beach volleyball. She's Brandie Wilkerson. How you doing, Brandie?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for your time.
That's great. And Brandie, you're coming off a silver medal. You were in Rome. Congratulations on that. What was that whole experience like for you?
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it, first of all. And I mean, not only is being in Rome absolutely magical, I'm obsessed with the food and the culture, but yes, being there to compete and to represent Canada at one of the biggest stages was an honor. And then playing alongside a new teammate of mine and, you know, really validating all the work that we've been doing for this moment and playing the finals in a huge stadium. It was absolutely perfect.
And what was the overall atmosphere like at that? Because I'm sure a lot of people, when they see a championship game on TV and they maybe hear the crowd, sometimes they lower it a little bit, but like when you're actually in that environment, is the anxiety heightened? Like, how did you get mentally prepared for that?
Yeah, I mean, you train really hard to kind of stick to your routine, stick to whatever mentally keeps you aware of what your job is, and to stay focused on the skills, stay focused on the game plan, and try to normalize the whole experience. It is something that's different. It's much more heightened, and you want to use it to your advantage because you want to like enjoy it and appreciate the moment. But at the same time, you don't want it to distract you because you're out here to do what you do best and obviously to win too. So it was great. I mean, I don't think it hit me until moments before we had to do our intro onto the court and they started talking about what the trophy ceremony was going to look like and some of the logistics about what happens after the game. And I was like, okay, like it's really time. It's between me, like us and this team. So that was a cool moment. And then once we got on the sand, it felt like being home.
That's amazing. And just even following up on that, like when you're in that actual environment for the championship game and like you're constantly building towards your next goal. So what do you take away from it? A lot of people might see it as, okay, a negative, I came in second, but do you see it more of a glass half full type of thing? Like you can build off second place like that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's totally human and especially as competitors to see it as like, oh, second. But I mean, everyone's going to be upset unless they win gold. So I'm just like, oh, this is done. This is played out. Like, when can we find the good in these moments and how can we use this to like build on it and to be extremely proud? I mean, this was the fourth tournament that my partner and I, Sophie, have played together, and to make such an impact like that and to hold the Canadian legacy of being in the finals and the World Championships was something to be proud of. But I'm also kind of happy that we're a little bitter because that means we still want more.
That's great. And you mentioned there your partner, and you got an exciting event there behind the ball. Like, just how did this whole event come together? Like, just the preliminary stages of it. Like, what made you want to decide to both of you get out there and support this great cause?
Yeah, I mean, both Sophie and I have some passion projects that we work on just to kind of illuminate the purpose of playing and the purpose of sport, which is community and to learn and to grow. So Sophie has her elite volleyball program, Northern Elite, and I have a passion project called Project Worthy Scholarship that I co-founded with one of my best friends, and both are just to bring more people into the sport. And we have a fantastic team, Equation Sales that I work with that helped us get some really great sponsors behind this event. So again, that we can meet the community, meet the athletes that are aspiring to be in these positions. And, we want to help them get there and, learn maybe a little bit faster than we did. Beach volleyball still feels like a new sport for everyone, but definitely in Canada. But there's just so much talent here and so many opportunities that we just want to be a part of helping people get there.
And just the whole event together, what do you hope that the attendees will get out of it? Like, do you want to is it more of like a Q&A type of thing? Like if they have any questions about getting into volleyball, yeah. Or is it something along the lines of maybe supporting their athletic aspirations?
Yeah, definitely both of those things. I would want all the attendees and just even the people working to feel very supported, to feel like, you have a community here that believes in you and believes in your dream, despite how hard things might get or easy or whatever the road looks like. And also just for insight, whatever comes to mind, people feel free to share, to be a very safe space, something very inspirational for all of us. I want to learn from these young athletes as much as I hope that they could learn from Sophie and I and the background that we had. So I think it'll just be a really beautiful chance for all of us to grow a little bit more.
And also this event that you were talking about, the passion project that you have, and like, how did that all come about to you? Like the idea of creating a passion project, was it when you were just starting up into beach volleyball, or did you want to just, as you looked at maybe the landscape of the sport, something you wanted to change?
Definitely that. My best friend, Julie Gordon, and I, throughout COVID, and especially around the BLM movement, and when a lot of things were coming to question and people were talking a lot more and just curious about each other's experiences, I think this target of the BIPOC community speaks very closely to me, being a biracial athlete and having my own story and upbringing into the sport. I had people help me out, pay for my club fees, pay for shoes, drive me places, and I would not be the athlete I am today without them. So it felt like our duty and our responsibility to help other athletes in that area. So we came up with this Project Worthy scholarship so that we can fund at least one or two athletes a year. And anyone aspiring to play either indoor or beach volleyball. Right now, we're focused on indoor in Canada specifically. And we've already funded an athlete out of Alberta. So we're looking to do more of that. And it's been really rewarding and it's been really eye-opening.
And when you hear some of the stories of some of the athletes there, is there a difference between indoor and outdoor in terms of like the preparation side of things?
I think there are some. I think just indoor volleyball maybe is a little bit more established. There's a longer history there, and there's just more people playing it too. I mean, there's 6 people on the court, so you need at least 6 people versus beach volleyball is only 2. So the community is a little bit smaller, but volleyball people are volleyball people. They all kind of know each other, and we're all here, kind of helping each other out and trying to pave the road for Canada and where they stand on the world stage, no matter if it's indoor or sand. And so I would say that it's still growing on the beach side, but I think it's growing really quickly. There's so much success happening at the top level. So I think we'll be seeing lots of changes soon.
With Brandie Wilkerson here on Vibe 105 Sports VIBEtalks segment. And Brandie, you just talked about the indoor side of things. Is there one you prefer between indoor and outdoor when you were maybe starting up? And has it changed since you became the star athlete for Canada?
Oh, I appreciate that. Star athlete. I don't know about that. But yeah, I'm beach all the way. Beach, as the second I started playing beach, I'm like, no, I think this is where I belong. So I love beach volleyball. I love the sand. I love the strategy and the style of play. I think everyone should give it a try.
And like even beach volleyball, you mentioned there, you're with a teammate rather than inside or indoor when you're with more teammates there on the court. What's the dynamic like? Because I'm sure like when you're just with a pair, it can get hectic at times. Like how do you build that chemistry with each other? Yeah,
I mean, it's surreal. I think having 2 people who are highly dedicated and focused on a certain goal and hold very high standards helps bond very quickly. And you're in high pressure situations. You travel the world together. So you get to know each other very well. And being very high functioning, you try to make it work no matter what. But outside looking in, it is kind of crazy. Like we stay in the same hotel rooms together. We eat most of our meals together. We train every day together. We travel. We sometimes spend our free time together because, they're now one of your closest friends or people you know the most. So, and this is, 8 months out of the year. So she's definitely the person I see the most in my life. So it's a special bond. But going through hard moments, I think, bring people closer together in a way that's hard to explain. So we try and use that to our benefit and also, conquer some goals while we're at it.
And what's a process like when you're choosing a teammate? Because I'm sure in other sports, it's more, okay, we see that they have better chemistry or they might work off together. Like, how much say do you have in maybe who your teammate ends up being?
Yeah. I mean, every federation does it a little bit differently. In Canada, we, as the athletes, kind of have the autonomy to choose who we want to play with. So you kind of go through this, like almost like a dating process. You kind of like check, the pros and cons, and like you approach them and you ask and you figure out what your goals are. You figure out what the commitment time period is. If you go switch, then you try and do it as respectfully and as formally as possible. And you're really in it for the long run for most of the time. And especially beach volleyball being mostly an Olympic sport, you're trying to plan 4 years at a time with this person. So it is a lot of decision making. It's really tough sometimes. But once you do, you kind of have to be in 100%. I think that being friends with your partner, having that good energy with your partner is definitely a benefit. Wouldn't say it's absolutely necessary, because at the end of the day, it's two strangers coming together. And if you can make it work, you can make it work. But personally, I do enjoy like genuinely liking being around that person. And it helps with those like small moments, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine how some teammates, maybe if they're thrown together, it might not always work all the time. So that's great that you shed light on that. And like, is there a different style of play maybe that Canada's known for rather than other federations? Or in volleyball, do you see a pattern where maybe some federations are looking at what the top is doing and you try to replicate that?
I think that Canada has a certain level of a grit. And I think you could say that within the entire Canadian culture, but it definitely shows in our sport. And I would say that with like the elements that we play in, super hot weather, raining, cold, whatever it is, Canadians seem to always adapt and manage it really well. And I think it's just like, you got to have thick skin living in Canada. Like we don't know what weather we're going to get. So that helps for sure. And I think just the commitment to the sport, again, resources aren't always very consistent right now. So a lot of these athletes are playing because they're passionate, because they're proud to be Canadian. And again, that shows through hard moments. They're going to push through a little bit more. And I think the Canadian athletes here are highly athletic, like just well-rounded, very strong, both in strength and conditioning, like at the gym, putting in extra work, and just like phenomenal at like some talented, super high jumper, super fast player, just looking and pursuing excellence.
And you were like representing Canada recently at the Olympics last summer. What was that whole experience like being in the Olympics? Like, was it maybe different from what you expected? I know it was a COVID Olympics, so maybe it wasn't the best of situations, but was there anything different that you expected going into it?
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, it was the Olympics at the end of the day. This is something that I trained to qualify and participate and do well in for years and years of my life. And I sacrificed a lot to get there. So I am extremely proud of that, no matter what the environment may have looked like. But it was bittersweet. I mean, this is something I imagine sharing with my family, with my friends, and enjoying a lot of the social aspects and relating to a lot of athletes that have also dedicated so much time. So there was some of that missing, but at the same time, everyone was trying their best to make it as special as possible. And in trying to do that was also very nice and very supportive and very loving. So it was good to bond over that and to still have my moment of like walking onto the stage and like seeing the exact arena that I had watched on TV before, but this time it was me and like wearing the uniform. Like no one can take that away from you. So that was really special.
And did that hit you like that day when you're all going in together, or maybe as you're about to get ready for your first game, did it really set in that you're an Olympian?
Yeah, no, I think that moment, the first like practice on the stadium definitely hit. And to be honest, I think it wasn't until I got home that I was like, I'm an Olympian. Like, everyone keeps saying this to me. So, no, it was cool. It was a lot to take in.
And also going on to the Olympics, like because it was in 2021, now already you're looking at, okay, 2.5 years of preparation if you want to make it to 2024. So how hectic has your training been now? And like even coming off of that, you're going to obviously world tours and doing all these other competitions. So how hectic has your preparation been leading up to hopefully representing Canada in the next Olympics?
Mm-hmm. No, it has been very intense, a little bit quicker than expected. And especially we're a brand new partnership. So we're starting right from the bottom, whatever that means to people. But yeah, it's been great. But I love high pressure situations. I love when things are extremely challenging. So the fact that there's 2 years is even better because I'm slightly impatient as well. So I think we're going to use it to our advantage, and we're just going to go all out and give it everything we have, and whatever happens, happens. But I am optimistic and I'm very excited for the future.
And even like going on that, like being in the Olympics too, like everyone has an origin story of when they started playing. Like what made you be interested in volleyball? Because I read about you, your dad was a pro basketball player, got drafted by the Cavaliers. Your mom's an athlete too. So how did volleyball come into the picture there?
Oh man, I feel like, I don't know if I have the worst or the best story, because I never really planned on being an athlete. And like, even though my parents were athletes, they were always like, get a real job. Like, we're still like immigrants in one way, or, like coming into Canada. I came to Canada when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and like, we struggled a bit. So like, sports was a luxury. So it wasn't something that was at the forefront, but it was obviously something that bonded my family together and we valued a lot and obviously had skills for. But it wasn't until I started playing varsity at York University that I was like, oh, maybe there's space for me in volleyball. And then about 2-3 years after indoor, I started playing beach when let's say 2013. 14, I started playing on the world tour, and that's when it really hit. Like, I think I could be really great at this. And I have, started building small goals. Like, I want to make it to this tournament, or I want to be playing with this top player by this time, or I want to make it to whatever. And then eventually I kind of looked up, and the goal was like, I'm going to qualify for the Olympics, and that's what I want to do. So doing that was like, man, we've come a long way.
And like, were you recruited to York, or was this something where you found out playing varsity, like, wow, I'm actually really good at this. I'm going to dominate the Canadian volleyball landscape here? Yeah,
I mean, no, I wasn't recruited. Like, people know I played sports, so they were kind of like, there's this tryout, you should go to it. And I'm going to expose my mom really hard. And she was for sure like, yeah, I don't know if you're going to make the team. Like, maybe you'll redshirt, but like, give it a try, I guess. I ended up having a really successful year. And she was like, what? You're going to volleyball? So after that point, I love my mom. She's my number one fan, and she'll brag about me any day. But that was definitely the starting point. We were lost. We were completely lost.
That's an interesting one, because usually like you hear someone, yeah, when I was 5, I knew I was going to become an athlete. You at university, that's unique to say the least.
I'm the worst for that. Yeah, I feel terrible.
And like, just even going on to that, like when you're looking at the sport right now, everybody, I'm sure they have that dream scenario or that dream opponent that they want to maybe compete against and test their skills. Is there somebody in volleyball, maybe if you have played against them or that you want to play them again, that would be a dream opponent for you, even if it's at a World Tour Olympics?
Oh, man. I mean, at the Olympic Games, and I can say this wholeheartedly, I would love to play the finals against the fellow Canadian team, because they are literally another top ranked team in the world. Like, we have 2 amazing Canadian teams that are both deserving of winning the Olympic Games. So I'm like, that would be ideal. But also, I have so much respect for a lot of the Brazilian teams. I spent a lot of time in Brazil, and understand the work ethics there as well. And there's just phenomenal athletes. And we just lost to them in the World Championship. So I'm ready for my my rematch.
The revenge tour is getting ready there. And just reading about you, your first Black woman to wear the Canadian flag and represent Canada in beach volleyball. Just curious, is there like why is that so, you think? Like, were you surprised when you found out?
I was a little surprised for sure. But I do also understand the difficulty in access with a sport like this that is it was fairly niche. It's becoming more, mainstream for sure. But I didn't get here alone. And I definitely didn't get here from my background in sport. And I had a lot of doors open up for me that I did my best to take advantage of and run with. But if those doors weren't open, which is probably the case for a lot of people who aren't in this environment, then I can understand. But I do truly believe that even if I am the first, I definitely will not be the only one, and there will be so much more depth and diversity in this sport, because I think it's got the environment to cultivate that. There's so many different ways you can play. There's so many different styles. There's so many different even body types or skills, or, that it's, grounding for diversity.
That's great. And, just you're a Canadian athlete. I'm sure a lot of people are going to look towards in the future that maybe even get into the sport and want to replicate your success. So what advice would you give to maybe even some athletes if you come back to York and maybe interact with them? Like, what advice would you give to them if they're asking you, how can I be improving it to the next level?
Wow. I think some advice, one would be to take risks, something that maybe you didn't see for yourself or may seem too intimidating, or whatever the case is. Like, put yourself out there. You'd be surprised what you can learn from that. And I think understanding your body, having a good connection with your body, whether it's like what needs to be strengthened, what needs to rest, whatever it is. And because you have to take care of this is going to be your tool. Your mind will always want to play, but it's your body that's going to stop at one point. So take care of that for sure. And then also, you got to be your number one fan. Sometimes people are going to see your vision. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're going to be at your games, and sometimes there's not going to be a single person there. So you got to believe in yourself first, and then everyone else will catch up.
That's great advice. And just curious too, like, playing volleyball, you're so like dialed into the sport, but is there another sport that you like maybe a fan of, or that you watch somewhat regularly to maybe take your mind off volleyball?
Ooh. I watch basketball. I still come from a basketball family. I was actually just wearing my Raptors long sleeve. So Raptors all the way there. And then if I could play another sport, I am looking forward to my future tennis career. That will probably not be great, but I love tennis. I have so much respect for it, and I definitely want to give it a try.
That'd be great to see. You went into the Olympics for volleyball. Maybe we'll see you in tennis down the road too. So.
Yes, if they have like a senior citizens Olympics, maybe I'll be in that one.
Well, before we wrap up here and let you go, how can our listeners and viewers here follow you on social media?
I am most active on my Instagram, bvumier, BVUILLEUMIER. In case you don't know what that is, it's my family heritage in Switzerland. So always love for that. But message me, watch my stories, whatever it is. I'm always here to chat.
That's great. I appreciate you sharing your time and coming on here on Vibe 105 to talk all about your event coming up and your career, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Vibe Talks, exclusively on Vibe 105.